urinary we can see here too. Okay, so let's look at urinary first here on the male. What we're not seeing are the two ureters. Maybe they're showing one from one side coming in. So the little triangle that would form right in this area would be called the trigone. The folds of the bladder would be called the rugae. The muscularis of the bladder is known as the detrusor muscle. You would have peritoneum here, but see how it's adventitia as soon as you get down just a little bit. This would be the urethra, and the male has 3 segments. So the first segment is prostatic urethra because it's receiving prostatic fluid. Second segment would be membranous urethra, just this little bit right there. But you see that little gland?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the bulbourethral gland is secreting into the membranous urethra. Then the rest of the length is penile urethra. So 3 segments to the urethra serves what? Urogenital, reproductive and urinary function. Then let's look at the accessory glands that we can see. This is the first one, the seminal vesicles. And if I said name a secretion, well, it's 60-ish% of the volume, but it's going to include things like fructose, the sugar that will be the nutrient for the sperm. Then they're not showing us the ejaculatory duct very well. You would have the vas deferens coming up, looping around, but then between here and here, you're going to have the ejaculatory duct as little tubes from the seminal vesicles merge with the vas deferens. So maybe this would be some ejaculatory duct, and see how it then fuses with the urethra. This is the second accessory organ for the male, prostate gland. It's going to make things like the seminal plasmin. It's alkaline to offset the acidity of the female reproductive tract, 30% of the volume. And then finally, this is the little bulbourethral or Cowper's gland, making about 5% of the semen volume, making pre-ejaculate to flush the urethra and act as lubricant for intercourse. Then parts of the penis, you can see up here, this is a mid-sagittal cut, but there would be 2 erectile bodies. Those would be corpora cavernosa. A third erectile body that has the penile urethra in it, penile urethra is also called spongy urethra because that's the corpus spongiosum that surrounds the tube. The tip would be the glands of the penis. The skin would be the foreskin. What can we see here? Well, the sac, if we ask the sac, scrotum. If I ask you about muscles in the sac, it's a little hard to tell what's the muscles, but the muscles would be dartos and cremaster for temperature control. You see a number of little lobules. I wouldn't go as detailed as the seminiferous tubules so much here. I'd probably give you a microscope slide for that. So here's the testis. There's like the reed of the testis where that blue collection chamber is. This is now where the sperm get funneled to the epididymis. And then in here, I could ask you a couple questions. If I said name the collection of vessels, you would say spermatic cord. Because it's, if I said what's the sperm carrying tube, you would say vas deferens or ductus deferens. So what other vessels are in the spermatic cord besides just the vas deferens? Testicular arteries, testicular veins, nerves, lymphatics. So there's quite a collection of vessels all in there. What's the passageway up into? Right there, inguinal canal. So that's where the hernia would occur if strained too much and push something down into that. Okay, I think that's about as much as we can see on that model. And in female, we've got a couple real different looking models. So this one would be kind of nice to just be able to see ovary, oviduct or uterine tube, I just told you to know the fimbriae are the end of it. This would represent technically a very micro gap. In the female, remember developmentally, in the male, this tube becomes the vas deferens. In the female, that's just the ovarian ligament. So that's anchoring the ovary medially to the uterus. This, all number 803, would all be broad ligament. All of that connective tissue that's sort of helping to brace things up. We could see regions of the uterus, fundus, body, cervix. We could see layers, inner lining, endometrium, muscle portion, myometrium, surface, parametrium or serosa, down low you're going to be getting to adventitia. Kind of emphasize this clinically. Those little grooves are the fornices of the vagina that are palpable folds to detect things in the pelvic floor. Vagina's birth canal. Okay, so that's not really showing any external genitals or bladder. This, again, shows us rather nicely the ovarian ligament, a little bit more clear there. Massive broad ligament. Now we're getting to see that is the suspensory ligament. See, there's blood vessels there, but there's a little ligament that's going to help dangle the ovary from the top. Then this may be a cardinal ligament. It's a little hard for me to tell where it's going to, but that would be one of the helpers to anchor the uterus in place. Here's uterus, here's the bladder, right? So some of the urinary features, you can still see the rugae, the urethra, the detrusor muscle. But what if I ask you the muscle there? What would you say? Myometrium. So make sure you know uterus, bladder. This is front, this is back, right? What's the whole opening called? The vestibule. Bounded by labia minora and labia majora, inner lips, outer lips. I don't see them showing much of a clitoris unless they're trying to let this be it. This would be the pubic bone. This would be the mons pubis. Vagina, there's the fornices on this model. Fundus, body, cervix.
So is the cervix before the fundus?
No, fundus is up high.
Or the other word that you used, you said cervix.
Yeah. Cervix is actually part of the uterus.
Okay.
The fornices are flanking the cervix, more or less. Yeah. So yeah, they don't, I guess, give us the full details of the external genitals there. Okay. But that's pretty good.